Sue Smith sitting in for Aaron Rand. Thanks so much for being with us today. And we're talking politics. The Quebec election is rapidly approaching. We're going to the polls on October the 5th. And we've been asking you today how you feel about the Liberal Party and what you would like to hear from the leader. That's because we have the leader on the line. Charles Milliard is the leader of the Quebec Liberal Party. He wants to be the leader of all Quebecers. And right now he's here with us on CJAD. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, thank you for coming on. You've had a busy couple of weeks. I mean, the press has been giving you a hard time about, you've been quiet and now all of a sudden you've got an economic plan, you've got new candidates. And I want to ask you about those things. Also, our listeners have sent in a lot of questions that they want to ask you, and I'm going to put some of those to you. But can we start with that poll yesterday? So it's got you behind the Parti Québécois. And it's close with 31% to 27%. But I guess the number that I keep looking at is the tie in the Montreal area region, which used to be pretty much owned by the Quebec Liberals. How concerned are you about the polls, and how are you going to change those numbers?
Well, that's a good question. I'm happy with the polls. I think it's moving in the right direction, especially with the French-speaking voters. And of course, one thing that I notice is the fact that Quebecers keep to be more and more unsatisfied with the current government. That being said, with the region of Montreal, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the numbers are for the greater regions of Montreal. So that's 514, 450.
450.
And I think, Parti Québécois is somewhat popular in some of those sub-regions.
Yeah.
But all in all, I think 60 days from the election, I think it's a good position for us, and I think I'm going to get to meet with Quebecers in the next 60 days. I've been very busy this summer. I took 8 days of vacation, so I'm really excited about this upcoming campaign and to meet Quebecers from all walks of life.
You say that Quebecers are unhappy with the current government, which certainly seems to be true, but it also is true that does not seem to be your competition. Your competition seems to be Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon and the Parti Québécois. So how are you going to fight the Parti Québécois on issues like identity? And you mentioned Francophone voters. You're polling very badly among Francophones.
Well, I wouldn't say badly because we're at 19%. I mean, we used to be at 7%. So I think, again,
Fair.
It's moving in the right direction.
Okay.
And I'll be very present in the different regions of Quebec throughout the campaign, of course. That being said, you're right saying that this is going to be a lutte à deux, if you want, between the Parti Québécois and the PLQ. And that's why we did a presentation last week mentioning that it's probably time to remind Quebecers that the only true Federalist Party that actually believes and is interested in Canada is the Parti Libéral du Québec. And so our main opponent has been very clear for the past years, and he just came back from vacation, and it doesn't seem like things have changed. They want to do a referendum, which is something that the majority of Quebecers actually don't want. So we'll be clear on that issue, and if someone is unclear about that, it's clearly Premier Fréchette. She has been unable so far to say if she would vote yes or no in a potential referendum. So I think it's troublesome, and it needs to be said. I've been maybe somewhat polite in the past few months on that issue, but I think it's time to call the bluff of the CAQ on that issue. I
guess, but again, I don't think Christine Fréchette is the person that you're running against. And what do you say to Quebecers who are kind of tired about that lutte that you say that's been going on between the Liberals and the Parti Québécois, and they want kind of new ideas? Is it really going to boil down again to referendum and no referendum?
Well, hopefully this campaign won't be only about the referendum, and I'm not the one, bringing that to the table. I'll be bringing my plan on agriculture, on healthcare, on education, on homelessness, with our new candidate today, James Hughes. So I'm not the one bringing that up, but I will be answering questions on that issue, and I'll be, present and making sure that Quebecers that believe in Canada have a strong voice and a strong party to cheer in.
Yeah, and to your point, you were very clear on that last week, and you came out with a very strong Federalist platform, and I know a lot of commentators gave you a lot of credit for that. Let's get to James Hughes and some of the other candidates that you've announced. So, the appointment of James Hughes came on the same day as the Association of Psychotherapists were saying they want a minister for homelessness and health. Does that mean that you endorse that idea? And will James Hughes, if he gets elected, be that person?
Yeah, well, yesterday James was CEO of Old Brewery, and today is a candidate.
Right.
So I listened very carefully to what they mentioned yesterday. I think I agree with probably most, if not all, of those ideas. We're going to be presenting our platform when it comes to mental health and homelessness, but obviously these issues are related. So when we're talking about, tackling the issue of homelessness, we're talking about housing, we're talking about mental health, about the drug crisis. So again, I want to have experts around the table when we will be taking decisions as a future government. So and James Hughes will obviously play a big role in that. So that's why we need to have James Hughes. We need to get a seat for James Hughes in the Salon Bleu.
And you've made your economic platform public, and yesterday you announced Michel Leblanc, also with a history in the Chamber of Commerce. So it's clear that your economic credentials are good, but I feel like Christine Frechette has been scoring points with Quebecers over affordability, which is not quite the same as an economic plan. How do you decide to tackle? How will you tackle that?
I think she's been scoring in our own goals with the state of the current, public finance. So we need a new team. Michel Leblanc obviously has a lot of experience when it comes to the economy. He's obviously an economist, apart from the fact that he led the Chamber of Commerce of Montreal for 16 years. So he's joining a very, experienced team of seasoned business people. Among others, Frédéric Beauchemin, Julie White, who's running in Jean Talon in Quebec City, who's the former head of Manufacturier Exportateur of Quebec. And I'm gonna be doing more announcements in the weeks to come. And I think the two announcements today, Michel Leblanc and James Hughes, are telling a lot about the fabric of the Quebec Liberal Party, which is, yes, the economy, but also, a strong social team, because we need the economy, we need money to pay for our public services. So I think that the narrative is very interesting this week.
Let me get to some of the questions from our listeners, because one of the things that really has been a big issue in Quebec is that of identity. And we had a whole bunch of listeners that want me to ask you about anti-Semitism and anti-Islamic. So what would you do to make the Jewish, I'm reading from a text, to make the Jewish community feel safer and to stop the disproportionate amount of violent acts towards the Jewish community? And if you see this is another text, if you see a parallel between Bill 96 and other bills passed by the CAQ that promote Quebecois culture and the rise in anti-Semitic and anti-Islamic crimes.
Well, there's a lot of things in those questions.
Yes.
First, I think that the CAQ has been dividing us for 8 years. I think it's part of their fabric. One of the things that we need in Quebec is a change of tone, a tone that is more respectful, that is more inclusive, that makes all Quebecers actually feel like Quebecers. And I'm done with the CAQ on that issue because they've been very disappointing and very divisive. That being said, anti-Semitism is a huge problem, not only in Quebec, not only in Canada, but worldwide. So we need to be very strong on that. We will be talking about security issues during that campaign because I think every Quebecers need to feel secure, no matter what religion they practice or where they're from.
Would you roll back the secularism bill? Would you roll that back?
Well, we'll be waiting for what the Supreme Court has to say on that. As you know, I've been very clear on Bill 21. And when it comes to Bill 96, it has been, again, very divisive. So that's why on June 16, we released a new plan of promoting and protecting French, but at the same time, respecting all Quebecers from all communities. So I encourage people to go probably on the web, on the net, and check our $400 million plan over the next 4 years to be very more inclusive and to give Quebecers the envy, if you want, to learn and to promote French instead of being always, coercive and negative about that.
Okay, so, I am running out of time with you, and I do have lots more questions I want to ask you, but I guess the question...
I'm going to have to come back.
Hey, good. Okay, that's a promise. We've got you on tape. Yes. The question that really matters to our audience is, what are you going to do for the English community? There is a perception that, the English community will vote for Quebec Liberals no matter what. Mm-hmm. But lately, the English community has been saying, show me the money. What would you do for the English community?
Well, I've been meeting with a lot of people from the English-speaking communities, obviously with an S, because as you know, I'm running in Orford. So there's different situations, different, ways of living for the English-speaking communities in Quebec. It's not only, obviously, as you know, in Montreal. That being said, I take absolutely nothing for granted. I know the communities have been disappointed by Quebec politics so far. This is going to be a very emotional election. I know that sometimes some comments from politicians are harsh and very hard for the English-speaking community, but please remember that the Quebec Liberal Party is the only party who has in its core values to protect, promote the diversity of Quebec. We're going to be protecting the French culture, because it's the basis of what we are historically. But at the same time, we will be respecting and promoting all Quebecers, all communities. This is one of the reasons that I'm running into politics, so that we feel like more like one Quebec. So I'm going to ask the community to be listening to our propositions, and they're gonna make their choice in the coming weeks. But Quebec Liberal Party has been there for the community and will continue to be there.
Charles Milliard, thanks for taking the time with us today.
Thank you.
You've heard the chaos. Now you can see it.
Hello. Oh my gosh.
Watch all your favorite podcasts from start to finish right inside the free iHeartRadio app.
Gets the blood going, huh?
Catch every laugh and eye roll on shows like the Tom Green Farmcast and Park the Bus. Now with full video.
We're building a ramp for Tony Hawk.
It's the same hosts and the same chemistry with all the hilarious moments you've been missing right on your screen.
Cheers.
Open the free iHeartRadio app, search video podcasts, and tap watch.